This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. The Prime Minister makes it very clear that Russia's latest annexations are wholly unacceptable. There is carnage on the roads and drivers continue to flee accidents. And there are some teachers who are not actually teachers, but the work they do is invaluable. But first to our main story. The PM left no doubt on his position with regards to Russia's annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions. The PM has said that the invasion is a violation of international law and against the very principles of the United Nations. His words left no doubt as to how strongly Cambodia objects to Russia's attempts to subjugate its neighbour. The Prime Minister was extremely vocal, and he said, "Cambodia opposes secession. We oppose the establishment of a dictatorship, the separatism, and the use of force." He added, "The resolution drafted by the United States condemning Russia's annexation of parts of Ukraine has been rejected by the UN Security Council. If it goes to the United Nations General Assembly, Cambodia will have no other choice but to support the US resolution." The actual resolution introduced by the United States at the Security Council condemning Russia's annexation was rejected on Friday after Russia exercised its veto. In a vote in the Council's chambers, 10 nations, including the United States, Britain, all voted in favour, while China, Gabon, India and Brazil abstained from voting. Russia was the only vote against the resolution. Vladimir Putin this week proclaimed Russian rule over 4 regions that make up 15% of Ukraine's territory, the biggest annexation in Europe since World War II. The move has been firmly rejected by Western countries and even many Russian close allies. And earlier this week, he signed a decree that recognized Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson as independent territories and incorporated them into the Russian Federation. Putin then vowed to defend these new lands with nuclear weapons, if necessary. But the very next day, Ukraine captured Lyman in Donetsk. And so far, there has been no retaliation from Russia, nuclear or otherwise. Cambodia and UNICEF issued a new report this week that suggested that 1 in every 10 Cambodian children was subjected to online sexual abuse and exploitation in the past year alone. And that equates to 160,000 children exposed to some level of sexual exploitation, a number that is sure to shock many. The report was conducted by the Cambodian National Council for Children, as well as UNICEF Cambodia. The report found that 11% of internet-using children between the ages of 12 and 17 had experienced clear examples of online sexual exploitation. If scaled to Cambodia's population within this age group, that represents an estimated 160,000 children subjected to online sexual exploitation, a joint press release said. The report also found that 16% of children were subjected to sexual comments about themselves that made them feel uncomfortable. Nearly 1 in 5 were sent an unwanted sexual image, and a frightening 9% of children surveyed received unwanted requests to share sexual images of themselves. More boys than girls were exposed to online sexual exploitation, some being threatened or blackmailed to engage in sexual activities, the report said. The need is to make parents and teachers acutely aware of this danger and for them to be much more engaged in how their kids use the internet. Here we go yet again. with more road accidents and more unnecessary deaths. And we start off with a particularly appalling case that is now oh so familiar. But please, in this report, look out for the theme that connects all these three accidents. There is one common denominator in each of these three incidents. 2 people have died in Cumeng province. The driver of this black Lexus hit a trailer at high speed after losing control of the vehicle, causing the instant death of its 2 occupants. As is traditional, the driver, rather than rendering aid, got out of his vehicle and ran away from the scene. Now, what makes this even more despicable is the driver is believed to be a high-ranking official, and he did not only cause the accident, but left his victims to die by the side of the road. Authorities say they are investigating. Our number 2 slot goes to this accident, where a car bearing a police logo with police license plates crashed into a bridge in Phnom Penh. The car was travelling along Road 1, and at the bridge the driver lost control of the vehicle, causing severe damage. After the incident, the local police arrived, and a settlement for the damages is yet to be determined. Finally, there is this. The driver lost control of his vehicle, a black Land Cruiser, and it spun out and then smashed into a tuk-tuk, which was then propelled into a stop sign. Now, did you spot the theme in all 3 incidents? If you spotted lost control of the vehicle as the common denominator, then well done. But if you then managed to decode its meaning to be they were most probably texting, then you, I think, have a clearer view as to what is going on here. Very simply put, people are dying because others are driving and not even looking at the roads, and nobody is there to prosecute them. And to say they lost control of the vehicle is an absurdity, as the truth is they were never in control of it. No driver is in control when they're not even looking at the road. It is a very worrying trend when the number of untrained teachers entering the education system is on the rise. Children are being taught by those with no training, no experience, and no certification within the teaching profession. But the reasons for this are wholly understandable, and some may say admirable. The number of teachers with no experience entering the service increased from 1,050 last year to 1,190 this year. This is according to the Ministry of Education report, and this startling fact shows a worrying trend. The Ministry of Education announced 193 teachers in urban schools knew little or nothing about their work or the education system. And this number jumps dramatically in rural schools, where over 1,000 teachers are fundamentally not so much teachers, but people giving it a go. But they should not be thought ill of. The president of the Cambodian Independent Teachers Group has noted this quite correctly, and she says that teachers who lack skills, it does not mean the teacher lacks experience in working with students, and many do a good job. She said that some of the teachers may not have certification, but they are capable of educating students. And it is due to the shortage of teachers at certain remote schools that these schools must rely on volunteer teachers or young teachers who simply lack training. So those unqualified teachers in rural areas are the very bridge to education that many children lack, and for that they should be applauded. In business news, the World Bank has painted a rosy picture for East Asia and the Pacific region. The growth in the region is likely to increase to 5.3% in 2022, from just 2.6% the previous year. and Cambodia's economy has also been forecast upwards. The report from the World Bank said while most developing East Asia and Pacific countries have bounced back this year after hitting a marked low due to COVID-19, the Chinese economy continues to be affected by the steps taken by their government to contain the spread of the virus. The containment measures of its people are being called draconian by many of its citizens. The report also has a note of caution. The World Bank has stated that the economic performance across the region could be compromised by inflation and rising debt. The World Bank, when looking directly at Cambodia, upgraded Cambodia's growth forecast to 4.8% this year, up from April's 4.5% estimate. The kingdom is projected to grow at 5.2% next year, the bank said. Last year, Cambodia registered only 3% of GDP growth, but now the outlook is looking so much brighter. But with the rising interest rates and the looming giant of recession still casting its shadow over the financial landscape, it's not all over yet. And now it's time to look at our sports news. In sport this week, the T20 cricket saw England beat Pakistan by 67 runs, getting 209 for 3, and India beating South Africa by 16. England next have Australia in their sights, and it is to England we now turn for the Premier League. Here are the results of interest. Now, Arsenal beat Tottenham 3-1. That's an absolute corker for them. Man City took out Man U 6-3. What a game. But for us, there's something of interest here. Top left-hand corner, Leicester City beat Notts Forest 4-0. Now this time, let's switch over to the bottom of the table. And what we see here is basically carnage. I mean, amongst them, the lower 10, they've only won a handful of games, but it is Notts Forest right at the bottom. They haven't won a single thing all season. And therefore, they'll be our adopted team for this season. So come on, the Forest. Try and score a goal, please. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week. I don't know why there's no sun up in the sky. Stormy weather. And it's not just the bad singing you'll be suffering, it is in fact stormy weather itself. Now on Saturday, it looks as though it's not going to be so bad, it's just going to be rain. But then as we head off into a brand new week, we get the same old weather. It's storms, it is thunder, it is lightning, and the humidity is going to be up there in the 70s. This has been the Khmer Times News. You can contact myself at the studio by mailing us at ktnewsstudio@gmail.com. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly Roundup.